Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Welcome to this morning's Blissful Breakfast with Breegs. Oh yeah. Nothing's fresher than the time after a nice rain. I love the rain. It's a good Tuesday, glorious Tuesday. Today's topic on how I stay blissed out. A part of it is the words of wisdom from Dale Carnegie, who wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. His advice is to not criticize, condemn, or complain. Man, I read that and I was like, yes, that's the juice, man. That's hard to do. It's so easy to criticize and to hate on people and laugh about morons in politics and, complain about the government doing this or your state doing that or your spouse doing this or frickin' your job did that or your boss is a dick or whatever. And, but man, when you just start fasting, criticizing and condemning and complaining, for me, like when I just take inventory on that stuff every day and just take responsibility and looking inward and taking ownership of all that stuff, man, it makes me happy. You just start blissing out. You just start having a good time. When you don't have that negative energy floating around, when you're not criticizing everything, it's just not helpful. We know, like B.F. Skinner did these studies on animals showing that positive reinforcement is way more effective than negative reinforcement. People don't respond well to criticism. They get defensive. They try to justify it. And it just doesn't work, right? Like I struggle with that with my spouse. Sometimes we're both it's easy to see the shortfalls in your spouse when you're stressed out, when they miss doing this, miss payment, miss whatever it is, forget to do the laundry, or it's so easy to point out the little things that they're goofing up in, and I'm not seeing just the giant things that I'm missing. But when I'm able to choose unconditional love and being able to see it from their perspective and give them grace for what's going on and why maybe they're slipping on this or why this is happening, you always see the glory. Because when you're not criticizing, when you're honoring someone for what they are doing, and you're looking and having compassion for maybe what's going on and trying to get at the root of where they're at. Ooh, that's when the beauty happens, man. That's when they open up and they communicate. If I'm sitting around condemning, complaining, criticizing, you're just going to get that right back. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get condemned. Someone's going to be complaining about you. Man, like Confucius, what did he say? Don't, something about your neighbor. Don't poke at judge your neighbor for having snow on his roof when your doorstep isn't clean. Yeah, man. Like Jesus, I think literally the New Living Translation says in Matthew, Jesus is literally word for word. He's like, you son of a bitch, stop poking and looking at your bro's speck in his eye and get that frickin' plank out of your own eye, you dumb piece of shit. End quote. I think that's literally what Jesus said. But yeah, obviously we can sit around judging other people, but we got our own stuff. And I think that leads to, I just love this. I love this, taking full responsibility. It leads to you taking inventory, taking absolute ownership of all that stuff. My mind went blank. Where am I going? Yeah, the speck in your eye, taking ownership of criticism, imploring compassion. Yeah, man, that's where it's at. That's how you're going to stay blissed out. It's one of my favorite things. And it's so hard. It's so hard to do sometimes, right? You want to make fun of your neighbor. You want to get pissed at politicians or whatever. But, it's inward. Look inward instead of outward. You can't control all your external circumstances. So what can you control? How you respond to them, what your inward perspective is. Mary, hello. What are you doing? So, yeah. Look inward. look inward, and it's going to help you to not complain and criticize, because you're going to show more compassion. You're going to focus on yourself, start looking to fix yourself. And, I believe that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. I'll unpack that another time. But for today, just try just a little bit to not criticize, condemn, or complain. Take 5 minutes if you have to. If you got to throw a fit, if you got to you write it down. That's a great technique of like writing down. You just piss at someone. You just got to criticize them. Just get it out, but then take that 5 minutes and then move on. Move on. Take ownership. How can you look with compassion towards them? Maybe it's the president. Maybe it's politicians. Maybe it's, your boss or your work or whatever the situation is, man. Try to implore extreme compassion and to set aside the criticism. You'll be way happier. All right. This has been a Blissful Breakfast with Breegs. Thanks for joining. Plop in the comments something that you're prone to criticizing or condemning or complaining, and maybe a scenario that, you know what, here's a time where I didn't do that, or actually showed some unconditional love and it worked. Please give some feedback on what you think about that. If that's hard, if you have an experience or a success, I'd love to hear about it. All right. Be blessed, and you are capable of showing unconditional love and abandoning criticism. You totally are. You're amazing. So kill it today. And I love you.